The chamber was older than human civilization itself. Its walls stretched upward into darkness, carved from stone that had been on a world that no longer existed. 12 seats arranged in a perfect circle looked down upon a single platform in the center, and on that platform stood Laura Mitchell, the only human being within 1,000 light years. She was not a tall woman. She was not physically imposing in any way. Her gray suit was simple and practical, chosen specifically because it would not draw attention. But as she stood there under the gaze of 12 alien species, each one older and more powerful than humanity could comprehend, she did not tremble. She did not look away. She simply waited. High Arbiter of the Dominion rose from his seat. He was a towering figure, nearly 8 feet tall, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with a faint golden light. His species had ruled over a quarter of the galaxy for longer than mammals had existed on Earth. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like distant thunder. "The Council has reached a decision regarding the species known as humanity," he announced. The words were translated instantly through the device in Laura's ear, but she could hear the contempt beneath them even without understanding his native tongue. "Your expansion beyond your home system has been observed and documented. Your colonization of 17 worlds in the past 40 years has been noted. Your development of weapons capable of planetary destruction has been recorded." Laura said nothing. She had been warned that the Council did not appreciate interruptions. Continued, his golden eyes fixed upon her. "The Council has determined that humanity represents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Your species is young, aggressive, and dangerously unpredictable. You wage war upon yourselves with alarming frequency. You have developed technologies of mass destruction and shown a willingness to use them against your own kind. These are not the qualities of a species ready to join the galactic community." Around the chamber, the other 11 species nodded or made gestures of agreement. The tall and slender with silver skin watched with expressions that might have been curiosity. The small beings barely 4 feet tall with large dark eyes seemed almost sympathetic. But most of the council members looked at Laura the way a human might look at an insect crawling across a kitchen counter. "Therefore," declared, "the Galactic Council issues the following ultimatum to the people of Earth. You will withdraw all colonial presence from systems beyond your own within 30 standard days. You will dismantle all faster-than-light capable vessels, except those required for basic resource gathering within your home system. You will accept the presence of Council observers on your world to ensure compliance. Failure to meet these terms will result in consequences." Laura let the silence hang in the air for a moment before she spoke. Her voice was calm and clear, carrying easily through the vast chamber despite its softness. "And if we refuse?" The question seemed to confuse the council members. Several of them exchanged glances. The representative leaned forward with obvious interest. His golden eyes narrowed. "No species has ever refused," he said. The statement was not a threat. It was simply a fact, delivered with the confidence of someone who had never been challenged. Laura nodded slowly. "I understand, but I am asking you to consider the possibility. If humanity refuses your ultimatum, what happens then?" His expression shifted into something that might have been amusement on a human face. "Then the Council will take action to ensure compliance. Your colonial worlds will be neutralized. Your fleet will be destroyed. Your people will be confined to your home system until such time as you demonstrate the maturity required for interstellar presence." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "This is not negotiable, human. The Council has spoken." Laura took a deep breath. She had known this moment was coming. Every diplomat on Earth had warned her that this would be the outcome. The Council had been watching humanity for centuries, and they had decided long ago that humans were too dangerous to be allowed freedom among the stars. This meeting was not a negotiation. It was a sentencing. "Thank you for your clarity," she said finally. "I will return to Earth and deliver your message to my people." She turned to leave, then paused and looked back over her shoulder. "But I want you to understand something, High Arbiter. My species has a long history of being underestimated. We have been told many times that we could not survive, that we could not adapt, that we could not overcome. And yet here we stand, in a chamber older than our civilization, speaking to beings who consider us little more than children playing with dangerous toys." She met's gaze directly. "I do not know what my people will decide. But I know this. We did not cross the void between stars to be turned back at the threshold. We did not build ships that sail on starlight to be told where we may and may not go. And we did not survive everything that should have destroyed us to bow before those who never struggled." The chamber fell absolutely silent, even seemed momentarily stunned by the quiet defiance in her words. Laura turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. She could feel their eyes on her back, 12 ancient species watching a single human woman leave their presence without permission, without fear, without apology. Behind her, one of the representatives spoke softly to another. That was unexpected. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Laura spent most of it alone in her small cabin, reviewing the Council's demands and preparing her report. She knew what she was going to recommend. She knew that many would call her reckless, even suicidal. But she also knew her people. She knew what they were capable of when pushed into a corner. When her ship finally entered Earth orbit, she was met by a delegation of the world's most powerful leaders. President Daniel was there, along with military commanders, scientists, and diplomats from every nation. They gathered in a secure chamber deep beneath the surface, and Laura told them everything. "The Council has given us 30 days to abandon our colonies and accept occupation," she concluded. "They believe we will comply because every other species has. They see us as children to be disciplined, not as equals to be respected." President leaned back in his chair, his face grim but thoughtful. "And what do you recommend, Ambassador Mitchell?" Laura looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders, men and women from every corner of the earth, united by something that transcended borders and histories. She thought about everything her species had survived: ice ages and plagues, wars and disasters, moments when extinction seemed certain. And she thought about everything they had built despite those odds. "I recommend," she said quietly, "that we remind the galaxy why our ancestors looked up at the stars and refused to be afraid." The vote was unanimous. Every nation on Earth, regardless of their histories or differences, stood together and rejected the Council's ultimatum. It was the first time in human history that the entire world had agreed on anything, and the message they sent back to the stars was simple: no. President Daniel addressed the world 3 days after the vote. He stood in front of the United Nations building, the flags of every nation flying behind him, and he spoke without notes or teleprompter. His words were broadcast to every corner of the earth and transmitted into the void of space for any who might be listening. "We have received a message from the Galactic Council," he began, his voice steady and calm. "They have told us to abandon our dreams, to return to our single world, to accept their judgment that we are too young and too dangerous to walk among the stars. They have given us 30 days to comply." He paused, looking directly into the cameras. "Humanity's answer is no." The crowd gathered before him erupted in cheers, but held up his hand for silence. "This is not a declaration of war," he continued. "We do not seek conflict with the Council or any of its member species. We have no desire for conquest or domination. We only wish to live as free people, to explore the universe that is our birthright, to build homes among the stars for our children and our children's children." His expression hardened slightly. "But we will not be told where we may go. We will not surrender our colonies. We will not accept observers on our world. And we will not bow to those who believe that fear is the proper response to the unknown. If the Council wishes to punish us for this choice, then let them come. They will find that humanity does not break easily." Across the galaxy, The Council received Earth's response with a mixture of confusion and contempt. High Arbiter called an emergency session, but several species refused to attend. The consortium sent a representative who simply observed without speaking. The Federation expressed concern about what they called disproportionate escalation. Only the Dominion seemed eager for confrontation. They are primitives, declared to those who would listen. They have no understanding of what they face. A single demonstration of our power will bring them to their senses. He ordered a small fleet of 12 warships to Earth's furthest colony, a world called New Providence. It was a young settlement, barely 5 years old, with a population of just over 300. They chose it specifically because it was isolated and vulnerable. They expected the colonists to flee at the first sign of their approach. They expected Earth to see reason once they understood the cost of defiance. They were wrong. Commander Samuel Drake had been stationed on New Providence for 2 years. He was a quiet man in his late 40s, with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes that spoke of hard experience. He had served in 3 different wars before the discovery of faster-than-light travel, and he had thought those fighting days were behind him. He had come to New Providence to help build something, not to destroy anything. When the fleet appeared in orbit, Samuel gathered his people in the colony's central hall. They were scientists and engineers, farmers and teachers, families who had crossed the stars to start new lives. They looked at him with fear in their eyes, waiting for him to tell them what to do. "The Council has sent ships," he told them. "They want us to leave. They want us to abandon everything we have built here and return to Earth in shame." He looked around the room at the faces of his people. Some of them were crying. Some of them were holding their children close. But many of them were simply waiting, their jaws set, their eyes clear. "I am not going to order anyone to stay," Samuel continued. "If you want to evacuate, the transports are ready. No one will think less of you. But I want you to know something before you decide." He walked to the window and looked up at the sky where the ships hung like dark stars. "I was born on Earth, in a small town in Kansas. My grandfather used to tell me stories about his father, who fought in a war a long time ago. There was a battle where his unit was surrounded, outnumbered, with no hope of reinforcement. The enemy commander sent a message demanding their surrender." Samuel turned back to face his people. "My great-grandfather sent a message back. Just one word, nuts." A few people laughed despite their fear. Samuel smiled slightly. "They did not surrender," he said. "They held their ground until help arrived, and they won. Not because they were stronger, but because they refused to give up." He walked back to the center of the room. "They think we are weak because we are few. They think we will run because we are afraid. They do not understand humans. They do not understand that we have spent our entire existence facing impossible odds and refusing to accept defeat." His voice grew stronger. "I am staying. Not because I want to die, but because some things are worth fighting for. This colony is worth fighting for. Our right to exist among the stars is worth fighting for. And I believe that if we stand firm now, the whole galaxy will see what humanity is made of." When the commander sent his demand for immediate evacuation, Samuel walked to the communications console himself. His people had voted. Only 12 had chosen to leave, all of them parents with young children, and no one blamed them. The rest stood behind their commander, waiting. Samuel opened the channel and looked at the alien face on his screen. The commander was clearly expecting surrender, his expression one of bored superiority. "This is Commander Samuel Drake of the New Providence Colony," Samuel said calmly. "I have received your demand for evacuation." His people crowded around him, their faces visible in the transmission. "This is my response." He leaned forward slightly, and when he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of generations. "Come and take it." The transmission ended. The commander stared at his blank screen in disbelief. In 3,000 years of dominion over lesser species, he had never received such a response. On Earth, The message was received within hours. Come and take it. 3 words that echoed across a world and united billions of people in a single moment of fierce pride. Within days, the phrase was everywhere, painted on walls, displayed on screens, spoken by children who did not fully understand its meaning but knew it was important. President watched the coverage in his private office, his expression unreadable. Beside him stood Admiral, commander of Earth's secret fleet. They will destroy New Providence, said quietly. There is nothing we can do to stop that. Nodded slowly. I know, but Samuel Drake just gave us something more valuable than any colony. Sir. The president turned to face her. He gave us a rallying cry, and he showed the galaxy that humans do not beg. When the attack, every species in the council will be watching. They will see what we are willing to sacrifice for freedom. He placed a hand on shoulder. It is time to show them what else we are willing to do. Is the fleet ready? His eyes gleamed with grim determination. We have been ready for months, sir. They have no idea we exist. Then let us introduce ourselves, said, and let us make sure the council never underestimates humanity again. The destroyed New Providence on the 18th day. Their weapons turned the colony into ash and memory in less than an hour. 291 people died, including Commander Samuel Drake, who refused evacuation until the very end. His last transmission was a simple message to his family on Earth. I am proud of what we built. Remember us. The galaxy watched. The Council had expected this demonstration to break humanity's spirit, to show them the futility of resistance. Instead, they watched something they had never seen before. They watched humans mourn their dead without surrendering. They watched a species that responded to loss not with fear, but with cold, quiet determination. On Earth, President declared a day of remembrance. Flags flew at half-staff. People gathered in public spaces, not to protest or cry out for vengeance, but simply to stand together in silence. And in that silence, something changed. The scattered colonies of humanity, spread across 17 worlds, stopped being separate settlements. They became one people, united by grief and resolve. High Arbiter waited for the surrender he was certain would follow. He waited for desperate pleas for negotiation, for terrified leaders begging for mercy. None came. Instead, Earth went silent. For 3 days, no transmissions left the Sol system. The Council assumed humanity was in chaos, its government collapsed, its people paralyzed by fear. They assumed wrong. Admiral had spent 15 years preparing for this moment. While Earth's civilian fleet operated openly, she had overseen the construction of something else entirely. Hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, scattered across dozens of secret facilities, humanity had built a navy. Not a fleet of cargo ships modified for combat, but purpose-built warships designed by the best engineers on Earth. The fleet emerged from hiding on the 22nd day. 47 vessels of various sizes, armed with weapons the Council had never seen. They did not travel toward space. They did not move to defend Earth's remaining colonies. Instead, they set course for a location that made no strategic sense at all. The Council's primary communication relay station hung in neutral space at the exact center of Council territory. It was the heart of galactic civilization, a massive structure that allowed instant communication between all 12 member species across thousands of light years. Without it, messages that took seconds would take months. Trade would collapse. Military coordination would become impossible. The Council had never bothered to defend it because no species had ever been foolish enough to threaten it. Humanity was foolish. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the relay station grow larger on her. She was a small woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had lost friends on New Providence. She had attended the memorial service via hologram, standing at attention while the names of the dead were read aloud. And she had sworn that their sacrifice would not be meaningless. All ships report status, she ordered calmly. One by one, the captains of her fleet confirmed readiness. They had trained for this mission in absolute secrecy. They knew what they were about to do and what it would mean for humanity's future. The relay station is hailing us, her communications officer reported. They are demanding we identify ourselves and state our intentions. Allowed herself a small smile, open a channel. The face that appeared on her screen belonged to one of the species that had supported this ultimatum most enthusiastically. The alien looked confused and annoyed, clearly unused to unauthorized vessels in this part of space. This is a restricted area, the declared. You will identify yourselves immediately and explain your presence. Clasped her hands behind her back. This is Admiral of the Earth Space Navy. We are here to deliver a message to the Galactic Council. This confusion deepened. A message? What kind of message requires a fleet of warships? The kind that cannot be ignored, replied. 18 days ago, your council destroyed our colony on New Providence. 291 of our people died, including children who had committed no crime except being born to a species your council deemed unacceptable. She leaned forward slightly. We did not come here to destroy this station. We came here to disable it. When we are finished, the 12 species of your council will no longer be able to speak to each other instantly. You will have to wait for messages to travel the old way, taking months to cross the galaxy. Your unity will fracture. Your carefully maintained order will begin to crumble. The eyes widened in alarm. You cannot do this. This station serves all of galactic civilization. Without it, everything falls apart. Nodded, yes, that is the point. She gestured to her communications officer to end the transmission, then turned to face her tactical officer. Target their communication arrays and power distribution nodes. Precision strikes only. I want no casualties if we can avoid them. Admiral, are you certain? Her first officer asked quietly. This will make us enemies of the entire galaxy. Looked at him with eyes that held no doubt. We were already enemies the moment they issued their ultimatum. The only difference now is that they will know we can fight back. She turned back to all ships, commence operation. The attack lasted exactly 4 minutes. Human weapons, designed in secret labs by engineers who had never stopped imagining what might be possible, carved through the station's defensive systems with surgical precision. Shield generators failed. Communication arrays went dark. Power conduits overloaded and shut down. When it was over, the massive station hung dead and silent in space, its crew alive but trapped, its systems completely offline. Ordered her fleet to withdraw immediately. They vanished into faster-than-light before any council ships could respond, leaving behind nothing but confusion and the beginning of chaos. Within hours, the effects began to spread. The consortium, unable to reach their trading partners in distant systems, declared a temporary suspension of all interstellar commerce. The Federation, cut off from Council headquarters, announced they would not participate in any military action until communications were restored. The Collective, whose ships had been closest to the attack, demanded to know why they had provoked such retaliation without consulting the rest of the Council. High Arbiter watched his carefully maintained alliance begin to splinter. Species that had agreed with his ultimatum were now questioning his judgment. Species that had remained neutral were openly criticizing the decision to destroy New Providence. And everywhere, the same question was being asked. How had humanity, a species less than a century into interstellar travel, managed to strike at the very heart of galactic civilization? He called an emergency session, but several species refused to attend in person, citing the difficulty of communication. Those who did arrive were angry and afraid. The Dominion, which had always been the strongest voice on the Council, suddenly found itself isolated and defensive. One of the representatives spoke first. The humans did not attack to destroy. They attacked to send a message, and that message has been received by every species in this chamber. Her large dark eyes swept across the assembled delegates. They are showing us that they will not simply accept whatever we decree. They are showing us that they can hurt us if we hurt them. A nodded slowly, and they chose a target that would cause maximum disruption with minimum loss of life. This was not the act of a savage species. This was strategy, calculated and precise. Slammed his fist against his seat. They are criminals. They have attacked council property, damaged critical infrastructure, threatened the stability of galactic civilization itself. The representative looked at him calmly. And what did we do to New Providence? The chamber fell silent. For the first time since the crisis began, the council members looked at each other and saw not unity, but doubt. On Earth, Admiral's fleet returned to Hero's welcome, but the Admiral herself took no joy in the celebration. She stood at the window of her office, looking out at the stars, and thought about what came next. "We have shown them we can strike back," President said, joining her at the window. "But this is only the beginning." Nodded, "They will not accept this humiliation. They will come for us with everything they have." "Then we will be ready," replied. "And this time the whole galaxy will be watching." While the council argued and planned their revenge, Ambassador Laura Mitchell was preparing something different. She had returned to Earth after the attack on the relay station, and she had spent days in meetings with historians, artists, and diplomats from every nation. What they created together would change the galaxy forever. The transmission began on the 35th day, 5 days after the Council's ultimatum had officially expired. It was broadcast on every frequency that could reach inhabited space, encoded in languages that even species without translator technology could understand. And it started not with words of war or defiance, but with music. The opening notes of a symphony written by a man who had been deaf when he composed it filled the void between stars. It was followed by images: a child taking her first steps, an old man planting a tree he would never live to see grow tall, 2 soldiers from opposing armies sharing water in a desert. The message was not about humanity's strength. It was about humanity's soul. Laura's voice accompanied the images, calm and clear. "We are the species called humanity. We come from a small blue world orbiting an ordinary star at the edge of an unremarkable galaxy. We are young by galactic standards. We have existed for only a moment compared to the ancient civilizations of the Council, and in that moment we have done terrible things." The images shifted. Now they showed war, trenches filled with the dead, cities reduced to rubble, mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes. Laura's voice continued without flinching. "We have killed each other in numbers beyond counting. We have developed weapons capable of destroying our own world. We have committed atrocities against our own kind that defy explanation or excuse. The Council is right to look at our history and feel fear." A pause, then the images changed again. But that is not the whole story. Now the screen showed something else. It showed enemies shaking hands at the end of a war. It showed nations that had once tried to exterminate each other building hospitals and schools together. It showed a wall being torn down by hands on both sides. It showed former prisoners embracing their former guards in ceremonies of forgiveness. "Humanity has also done something rare in the universe," Laura said. "We have learned from our mistakes. Again and again, we have stood at the edge of destruction, looked into the abyss, and chosen to step back. Not because we are saints, but because we discovered something precious in our darkest moments: the ability to change." The images continued. A nation that had been completely destroyed being rebuilt with money from the very countries that had destroyed it. Enemies who had fought to the death becoming trading partners and allies within a single generation. Children of victims and children of perpetrators going to school together, learning each other's languages, marrying each other. "We invented something called forgiveness," Laura explained. "Not because we are naive, but because we learned that holding onto hatred destroys the one who holds it. We discovered that the enemy of today can become the friend of tomorrow, if both sides are willing to try." She appeared on screen now, standing in front of footage of Earth from space. Behind her, the planet turned slowly, blue and white and beautiful. The Council fears us because we are violent. And we are. But violence is not all we are. We are also the species that crossed the ocean in tiny boats because we wanted to know what was on the other side. We are the species that walked on our moon and wept at its beauty. We are the species that looked up at the stars and refused to believe they were forever beyond our reach. Her voice grew passionate. We are not asking the Council to trust us. We know that trust must be earned. We are asking for the chance to earn it. We are asking to be judged not by our worst moments, but by what we did after those moments. We are asking to be seen as we truly are, imperfect, struggling, and eternally hopeful. The transmission concluded with an offer. Earth proposed a meeting, not between diplomats and military commanders, but between ordinary people. Artists and scientists, teachers and healers, anyone willing to share what made their species unique. Not negotiation, but conversation. Not demands, but questions. We do not know if peace is possible, Laura said at the end, but we know that it will never happen if we do not try. This is our invitation. This is our hand extended across the void. Will you take it? The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Federation was the first to reply. Their ambassador, a small being named Coordinator, sent a personal message to Laura within hours. "Your transmission made me weep," she said. "I did not know humans could feel such things. I will advocate for dialogue with all my strength." The consortium followed soon after. Their message was more formal, but the meaning was clear. They were willing to talk. Trade relations, they noted, would benefit everyone more than war ever could. Even species that had supported the ultimatum began to waver. The collective, still angry about the attack on the relay station, nevertheless admitted that humanity's message had raised questions worth exploring. Perhaps, their representative suggested, there was more to these newcomers than they had assumed. But not everyone was moved. High Arbiter watched the transmission with cold fury. He saw it not as an olive branch, but as an insult. Humanity was trying to make the Council look like the aggressor. They were manipulating other species into doubting leadership. They were undermining everything he had worked for. "Do not be fooled," he warned the Council members who would still listen to him. "This is a trick. They show us pretty images and tell us sweet stories, but they are the same species that attacked our relay station. They are the same species that threatened galactic stability. Their words mean nothing." But his audience was shrinking. They had already announced they would not support further military action against Earth. They were more interested in reopening trade routes than in punishing a species that had proven itself capable of fighting back. Even within the Dominion itself, voices were being raised questioning whether this conflict was worth pursuing. Found himself increasingly isolated, and isolation made him desperate. If the Council would not act together, then they would act alone. He ordered the assembly of the largest fleet his species had ever deployed, 300 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. This force would travel to Earth and end the human threat once and for all. Some of his advisors urged caution. "The humans have surprised us before," one warned. "We do not know what other weapons they may have hidden." Dismissed the concern. "They got lucky once. They will not be lucky again. When our fleet arrives at there, they will have no choice but to surrender or die. And then the galaxy will remember why the Dominion is to be feared." Word of the fleet's assembly reached Earth within days. Spies among the who had come to see humanity as potential trading partners rather than threats passed along the information willingly. President received the news in silence, then called for Admiral. "How long until they arrive?" he asked. 37 days, replied. "They are gathering forces from across their territory. When they come, it will be with everything they have." Nodded slowly. "And what are our chances of stopping them?" Met his eyes without flinching. "If it comes to a direct battle, we will lose. Our fleet is good, but we cannot defeat 300 warships with 47. She paused. But I do not believe it will come to that. What do you mean? Pulled up a holographic display showing the positions of various species fleets across the galaxy. They are coming alone. They have already said they will not join any attack on Earth. They are staying neutral. Even they are holding back. She highlighted a particular region of space. And there are signs that some species are moving ships toward our system, not to attack, but to observe. You think they want to see what happens, said. I think they want to see if we meant what we said in that transmission, replied. She turned off the display and faced the president directly. We showed them our history. We showed them our capacity for forgiveness and growth. Now they want to know if that was real or just pretty words. Was quiet for a long moment. Then let us show them, he said. Let us show them that humanity is exactly what Laura Mitchell said we are. Flawed, violent, hopeful, and ready to change. He straightened his shoulders. Contact Ambassador Mitchell. It is time for her to deliver another message. But this one will not be broadcast to the galaxy. This one will be delivered in person. The fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system on a cold morning in January. 300 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their weapons charged, their crews ready for battle. High Arbiter himself had come to witness humanity's final defeat. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the distant blue dot that was Earth, and he smiled. But the smile faded when his sensors showed him something unexpected. There were other ships present, dozens of them, positioned in a wide arc between the fleet and Earth. They were not human vessels. The elegant silver shapes of trading ships hung alongside the compact spheres of cruisers. Even a handful of observation posts had been established, their crews recording everything that happened. What is this? Demanded. His tactical officer studied the readings carefully. They are not in attack formation, High Arbiter. They appear to be observers. She looked up at him with uncertainty in her eyes. If we attack Earth, we will have to go through them. His jaw tightened. They would not dare interfere. This is a council matter. As if in answer to his words, a transmission came through from the flagship. Ordered it displayed, and the face of the trade minister appeared on his screen. High Arbiter, the minister said calmly, we are not here to fight you. We are here to witness. The humans sent a message to the galaxy, and we wish to see if they meant what they said. This is not your concern, snapped. The Dominion will handle the human threat as we see fit. The minister inclined his head. Perhaps, but before you begin your attack, you should know that the humans have requested the opportunity to speak, not to negotiate surrender but to make a proposal, one that we find intriguing. I have no interest in human proposals. We thought you might say that. The minister's expression remained neutral, but something in his eyes suggested he was enjoying this. Which is why we have agreed to broadcast whatever they say to every inhabited world in the galaxy. If you attack before hearing them out, every species will know that you chose war over words. Felt rage building in his chest, but he forced it down. The minister was right. If he attacked now, he would look like the aggressor. The humans had outmaneuvered him again, turning his strength into weakness, his certainty into doubt. Very well, he said through gritted teeth. Let them speak. It will change nothing. The human transmission began moments later. But it was not President who appeared on screen. It was not Admiral or any military commander. It was Ambassador Laura Mitchell, the same woman who had stood alone in the council chamber and refused to bow. She was not alone now. Behind her stood a small group of humans, scientists and artists, teachers and doctors, ordinary people from dozens of nations. And beside her stood something that made eyes widen in shock. And even a young who had apparently defected from his own people to stand with the humans. High Arbiter, Laura began, her voice calm and steady. We know why you have come. You have come to punish us for our defiance. You have come to show the galaxy what happens to species who refuse to submit. You have come to teach us fear. She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried the weight of worlds. But we are not afraid, not because we believe we can defeat you in battle. Your fleet is vast and our defenses are limited. If you choose to attack, many of us will die, perhaps all of us." She gestured to the people standing with her. "We are not afraid because we know something you do not seem to understand. Death is not the worst thing that can happen to a people. The worst thing is to lose who you are. The worst thing is to become the very thing you once fought against." Her eyes seemed to look directly at through the screen. "The Dominion has ruled over much of this galaxy for thousands of years. In that time, you have done great things. You have built wonders. You have maintained peace among species that might otherwise have destroyed each other. But somewhere along the way, you forgot something important." She took a step forward. "You forgot that power is not the same as wisdom. You forgot that ruling others is not the same as earning their respect. You forgot that the species you conquered and controlled were people too, with dreams and hopes and the right to determine their own futures." She spread her hands. "Humanity is not asking for conquest. We are not asking to replace you. We are asking for something much simpler, the chance to prove that we can be good neighbors, the chance to contribute to galactic civilization instead of being excluded from it, the chance to show that our worst traits are not our only traits." She turned slightly, gesturing to the beings standing beside her. "These are our friends. They are and. They came to us not because we threatened them, but because they listened to our message and saw something worth exploring. They are taking a risk by standing here today. If you attack, they may die alongside us." The young stepped forward and spoke, his voice shaking slightly but determined. "I was taught that humans were dangerous animals, but when I heard their transmission, I learned that they had once thought the same about each other, and they had found ways to move beyond it. If they could forgive the terrible things they had done to themselves, perhaps there was hope for the rest of us too." Laura Mitchell nodded and turned back to face. "High Arbiter, you have a choice to make. You can destroy us. Your weapons are powerful enough. Our planet will burn, and our people will die, and you will return to the Council having proven that the Dominion is still the greatest military power in the galaxy." Her voice hardened, "But you will have proven nothing else. You will have shown the galaxy that you respond to questions with violence and to hope with destruction. And in doing so, you will have planted seeds of doubt in every species watching. They will wonder if they are next. They will wonder when your displeasure might fall upon them." She took a deep breath. "Or you can choose something different. You can accept our proposal. Not surrender, not submission, but partnership. Let humanity take its place among the stars not as a conquered people but as equals. Let us bring our unique perspective to galactic civilization. Our stubbornness, yes, but also our creativity. Our violence, yes, but also our capacity for forgiveness." She extended her hand toward the screen, the same gesture she had used at the end of her earlier transmission. "This is our hand, High Arbiter, extended not in surrender but in friendship. Will you take it?" The galaxy held its breath. On hundreds of worlds, billions of beings watched and waited. The ships remained motionless, their presence a silent statement. Even the crews watched their commander, wondering what he would do. Stared at the screen for a long moment. His fists were clenched. His whole body trembled with the desire to give the order, to wipe this arrogant species from existence, to prove once and for all that they were not to be challenged. But he looked at the ships surrounding his fleet. He thought about the transmission that was being broadcast across the galaxy. He imagined returning to the Council, victorious but alone, surrounded by species who looked at him with fear instead of respect. And he made his choice. "The fleet will stand down," he said quietly. His voice was flat, defeated, but there was something else there too, something that might have been relief. "We will discuss terms." 6 months later, Ambassador Laura Mitchell walked into the council chamber for the second time. But now she was not alone. Behind her came a delegation of 50 humans, representatives of every nation on Earth. And on either side of the human procession walked an escorts, symbols of the friendships that had been forged in the fires of crisis. High Arbiter watched from his seat as Laura approached the central platform. His golden eyes were unreadable, but he did not look away. "The Council recognizes the delegation from Earth," he announced, his voice formal but not hostile, "and the Council welcomes humanity as its 13th member species." Laura bowed her head in acknowledgement, then turned to face the assembled delegates. "We come not as conquerors," she said, "and not as supplicants. We come as neighbors, ready to learn and to teach, to grow and to change. We know that trust must be earned, and we are prepared to earn it." She looked around the chamber at the 12 ancient species who had once looked down upon her with contempt. Now their expressions were mixed: curiosity, wariness, hope. The galaxy had changed, and everyone knew it. From the seats reserved for the Council species, the small delegate coordinator caught Laura's eye and smiled. Outside the chamber, the stars burned as they always had, vast and ancient and full of mysteries. But now, among those stars, a new voice had joined the chorus. A young species, violent and hopeful, by history but reaching for something better. The galaxy had never expected Earth to retaliate, but what it had truly never expected was what came after: not conquest but cooperation, not revenge but reconciliation. And as Laura Mitchell looked up at the stars from the Council station window that night, she thought of Commander Samuel Drake and the colonists of New Providence. She thought of their sacrifice and their courage, and she whispered into the darkness, "We made it. We earned our place among the stars, and we did it without becoming the monsters they feared we were." The stars did not answer, but somehow she knew they had heard.